Mm. All right. You have your calculator? And then I'm actually pretty sure I wrote area of obscure triangle.
No. How come we can't use the of the children? You know, Mozart. What is on his name?
Okay, I did write the wrong formula on y'all's notes. Oopsie. Okay, so what we're gonna do, this is the last new thing. Chris, can we put the computer away? So your homework today is not a Delta Math. It's a paper review that I'm gonna give you right after we work these two little questions. Okay?
That's it. This is the note. That's it.
Yep, that's it. Just two questions.
Okay.
All right. So if you have a triangle where you have the base and the height, you should know how to find the area of that triangle. Area would equal, do you happen to know it? And then divide by 2. Good. So I'm going to put 1/2 b times h. Now, the problem for our triangles is that the base and the height have to be perpendicular to each other. So if the base is flat across the bottom, then the height has to be measured perfectly up and down. And so when you're dealing with oblique triangles, okay, the problem is that you don't always have that information. So there are 2 other formulas that you could use to find the area. Okay, the first one is the one that I typoed on. It should be 1/2 AB sine C. Now make sure that your A and your B are lowercase letters because those are sides of the triangle. And then your C should be a capital letter because it's an angle. Okay? So you would only use this formula if you have SAS, which you should remember from geometry, that means side, angle, side. Okay? So let's look at the example below. We have angle A is 71. Sides are C is 15 and B is 13. Then you would put area equals 1/2. You're going to multiply the 2 sides that you have and then multiply times sine of the angle that you have. Now, keep in mind that for my example, okay, I have angle A and I have sides B and C. And even though that's not the same combination here, it doesn't matter. These should be your sides, that should be your angle. So in this case, it would be 1/2 15 times 13 times the sine of 71. And then you would just put that into your calculator.
The entire thing. Okay.
Okay, and then also keep in mind, you should be in degree mode, okay, which I'll remind you of on your test day. But if you're in degree mode, you're going to take it off. Okay, and that'll give you the area for that triangle. So 1/2 15 times 13.
92.
Perfect. Thank you. That'd be 92.188 would be your area. Okay. Now, let's say that instead of having side angle side, let's say that you have SSS, which is side, side, side. So I couldn't use this formula if I only had 3 sides because I have to know one of the angles. But if I do have all 3 sides, you can use what's called the Heron's formula. Okay, and the A, the B, and the C are the 3 sides of the triangle that you have. And then S is basically just going to be all 3 sides added together. So let's say, for example 2, that you know J is 8, K is 11, and L is 7. It doesn't really matter where you put them. You have all 3 sides, though. You don't have any angles. The first thing you're gonna find is your S, where S is literally just you adding up those three sides. So in your calculator, for my S, I'm gonna add up the 8, the 7, and the 11.
26.
Okay, 26. And then in my formula, wherever I see an S, I'm gonna put the 26. And then for the A, the B, and the C, I'll put the other three sides. Okay, this formula looks ugly, okay, but you're just putting it in the calculator. So look right here, we have a big square root. So I'm gonna put area equals big square root. The first thing we're gonna put is our S number. What's our S number we just found? 26. Parentheses. Then I'm gonna do S minus A, which is gonna be 26 minus the first side. So we'll do 26 minus 8. Thank you so much. Okay, then I'm gonna do 26 minus the second side. So 26 minus 11. And then my last parentheses is S minus the last side, which would be S minus 7. Or 26 minus 7. And then you're just gonna put that into the calculator. So the S is the sum, A, B, and C are the three sides, and it'll just shortcut you right to finding the area. Uh-huh.
So how did you do 26 again?
We added up the three sides that we had.
Oh,
So we added up the 11, the 8, and the 7. Okay. And you should get 365.212. Questions on that? Okay. So I'm going to bring you your test review. The first page is just a formula chart. You do not have to memorize those formulas that I just gave you. You'll be able to use the same formula chart you have on your review for your time. Here you go.
Miss Jenner.
oh.
Yes.
But I'll go later.
That's okay.
Was I within your acceptable time?
No. Acceptable. Like
Well, I have to go all the
1 or 2
way to
minutes.
take my medicine as well. So what did I miss? By the way, I literally left the classroom at like 35 and it takes just walking takes a while. I have to go all the way to A Hall, then go all the way down here, it takes forever.
Yeah.
Or don't work retarded like my other teacher.
Okay, the area of the triangles is on the back page. Okay, so right here, these top two.
What did I?
Yes? You didn't get a review? Okay. All right, so go ahead and look at the first question on the top of that page. Should you use the first area formula or the second one? You have two formulas for area. This one is if you have side angle side. This one is if you have side, side, side. Uh-huh. So for the first one, do you have side, side, side? Or do you have side angle side for number 14? Okay, very good. Then remember, that's going to be this formula. Area equals S minus A, S minus B, S minus C. Okay, then for the second question, number 15, you'll notice that you have an angle and two sides. That makes this one side angle side, which means that you'll use the one on your notes, 1/2 AB cosine C. Okay. So go ahead, do those two real quick. And then if you want to kind of get started, we'll do some examples from the rest of the review here in a minute.
Now, yeah, these things. Usually they don't need we need to be the. That's what technical thing, that's what we nicknamed for that. Mr. is so ambitious. And he introduced ideas way later than they could have. And he's persistent about that. Which is not a bad thing. But he wants additional to this introduction, which we're already mounted wrong, so we have to get a company, we have to get a company coming to fix it. He wants to actually protect the mountain, basically zero to tall thing.
You're right, it is signed, sorry.
Even from the front.
I don't know why I keep forgetting this. Y'all, should say sign, my bad. Hopefully you did it with sign. My bad. It is correct here on the front, though. This is the formula chart that you'll get for your test. Okay? All right, since we're already kind of on the back page, do we want to run through a couple of those? See if you remember how to do it. Let's start with number 16, part C. Okay, what should I do first to get rid of that +1? Minus 1. So in your calculator, will you take 2.94, take away 1 from that? What would that be? 1.94. Okay, then from here, I'm trying to solve for theta. How do I undo a tan? Tan -1 or second tan in your calculator. Okay, so then in your calculator, second tan on 1.94, you should get 62.7 degrees. Okay. Now let's do the one right next to it. What do you think I should do first to get rid of that 2 in the way? Divide. Now notice you're not going to actually divide it. You're just going to put it as a fraction. Don't actually divide it out in your calculator. So now you have CSC. Theta -20 is 8.158 over 2. Okay, then to get rid of a CSC, I would go back and look at my calculator because I'm looking for a second CSC, and I notice I don't have a button for this. That means we're going to have to flip both sides. Do you remember what CSC goes back to? It goes back to sign. So SIN, theta -20. And then if I'm going to flip CSC back to SIN, I have to flip this side too. But since it's already a fraction, I can just flip what's there. So now it would be 2 over 8.158. And now that it's a sign equation, I have a button for that. I can use second sign to solve. So you'll do sine -1, sine -1. Okay, so 2 over 8.158, second sign on that. I got 14 degrees. Now, quick question. Is that my final answer? Yeah, that's a theta -20, because notice I crossed out the SIN, but I still have a -20 in there with my theta. Then I'll add that across. So +20 plus 20, which means it'd be 34.2 degrees. Okay. Huh? Okay.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, this is old stuff.
Oh, okay.
Okay, go ahead and take a look at 17. It looks different, but it's the same thing. Okay, it says to find the angle of measure theta, they gave me a secant equation. So for secant, do you have a button for that? Yes or no?
No.
No button for secant, then what is it gonna flip back to? Cosine. So this will go to cosine, and what will happen to my 10/6? 6/10, and then you'll do second cos on that. Cross those boys out, and you'll have theta equals whatever the second cosine of 6/10. And I got 53 degrees. 53.1 technically. So 53.1, and then that's like a little degree symbol. Sorry, it looks ugly. Okay. All right, Oliver, let's put that away, honey.
Wait, so what were you supposed to put in the calculator?
Second cosine, and then 6/10. So it should look like this when you type it in.
Oh, like, oh, it's not a fraction.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still.
You can use the pretty fraction. It should still come out the same. All right, so since we're kind of working back to front, let's go ahead and go back one more page here. Okay, and let's take a look at number 11. Okay, so it asks you to find the altitude of the triangle. Okay, there is a little A there. Okay, that's in case you don't know what altitude is, that's like the up and perfectly up and down side of the triangle. Now, I want you to focus right now just on this guy. Okay, don't look at the whole thing. Just pretend like the yellow part of this triangle is all we're looking at. If this is capital F, what should I call the altitude? Capital F. They're going to be partners with each other. Okay, and in order for me to use the law of sines, I have to have partners. Do I have that in little yellow triangle? Pretend this part's not here. Do I have that? Yes. What's 8's partner? 90, right? So I'm going to do sine 90/8 equals, and then I'll do sine 58/f. Remember, on the first side, you want to have this stuff that you actually know, and then on the second side, you'll put what you're trying to solve. So go ahead and cross multiply that. Sine 90 times f is going to be sine 90 times f. But then 8 times sine 58 is going to give me 6.78. So we'll just round that to 6.8. Okay, then we want to get f by itself. Divide sine 90 on both sides. And what happens when you divide by sine 90? You get the exact same number, because remember, sine of 90 is really just 1. So whenever you times or divide by sine 90, you'll notice the number won't change. That's correct. So that's a 6.8. Okay. So then it says to find the length of side S. Now remember, when we were ignoring this half of the triangle, this was little f. But if we look at the entire triangle now, if this is capital F, then now this is little f over here. Okay, so we called this one little f just when we were trying to find the altitude. But remember, if I want capital F, that's going to be way over here. So now looking at your triangle again. Okay, what could we use to find that missing side? Do we have partners where we have a capital and a lowercase of the same letter? So I have big F, I want little f, no partner there. I have little g, but I don't have big G. And then I have little h, but I don't have big H. So do we have partners? No. Then we can't use law of sines. What's the other thing that we can use? Law of cosines. And we haven't used this one in a while. Okay, but I'm gonna write here law of cosines because no partners. Okay, and then hopefully we've talked about that enough that if you see that, you'll know what that means. So let's look on your little cheat sheet. On the front of your sheet, you should see the law of cosines is written there for you. Okay, and there's an a squared, a b squared, and a c squared version. Remember that we want to pick the equation that starts with the letter we're solving for. So in this case, if we're trying to solve for f, then I'm going to put an f squared in the front. So it'll be f squared equals g squared plus h squared minus 2gh cosine capital F. Okay, and remember, that's right there on your formula chart. If you want to switch the F, the G, and the H to an A, B, C, that's totally fine. However, on your test, I used only A's, B's, and C's. All right, so let's plug our numbers in. So we have F squared equals, what's little g? What number? 15 squared plus little h is 8 minus 2, 15, 8. And then cosine big F is where I'll put my 58 degrees. Okay, then notice I want F squared, but it's already on its own side. Then I can put this whole thing into the calculator at once and then take the square root to solve. So you're doing 15 squared plus 8 squared minus 2, 15, 8 cosine 58. Okay, but all of it can go in at once. I got 161.8. Is that my final answer? No, square root both sides, and that'll give you side F. So I got 12.7. Okay, the next question asks you to find the perimeter. How do you find the perimeter of a triangle? Yeah, just add all the sides, basically. Now, when we say sides, we're talking about the sides of the big triangle. Remember that your altitude goes through the triangle, but that would not be included in perimeter. So in your calculator, do 8 plus 12.7 plus 15. Okay, very good. I'm going to write the formula in case you need to go back and look at it. And then we got 35.7. Okay. Take a look at 12. Do we have a big and a little of the same letter for law of sines? We have only little letters, right? So law of sines won't work. That means we need to use law of cosines. So look back at your sheet. And if we're trying to solve for C, then I need you to pick the equation that starts with a C squared. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And then minus. Good. Very good. Okay, but now remember that when I'm plugging in my A, my B, and my C, they're all littles. So that means I'm putting my C value here. Okay, and this is going to be the C that I don't know. The capital C will be the unknown here. So it'll be 17 squared equals 11 squared plus 14 squared minus 2, 11, 14 cosine capital C. And then remember, when you're solving for this letter, it's easy as 1, 2, 3. And remember, you're going to group to solve. So you'll find the 17 squared by itself, the 11 and the 14 squared together, and then the 2 times 11 times 14. But it's one number, then these two numbers, then these three numbers. So let's start with 17 squared. What do I get? 289. Next two numbers I'm typing in are 11 squared plus 14 squared. 317 minus, then I'm doing 2 times 11 times 14. And you should get 308. Okay, from here, remember, I hate an equals 289 on the left. So I'm just going to scribble it out, put the equals 289 on this side. So I'm going to take my 289 from here, and I'm going to put it over here. How do I get rid of the 317 in the front? Minus it. So I have 289 minus 317. What would my next number be here on this side? When I minus those. These guys here, what'd you get? Negative 28. Okay, now make sure when you cancel out that 317, this is a negative 308 in the front. And the reason that matters is when I divide, I'm going to have to divide by a negative 308 on both sides. And then from there, how do we get rid of the COS in the front? Good. So I have cosine C is negative 28 over negative 308. And then I'll do second cosine on both sides. And that'll cross this out and give you C equals, and then whatever your answer is. Second cosine, negative 28 over negative 308. Now, if you had decided to drop both of those negatives, remember that would be okay. Because two negatives, when you divide them, would cross each other out anyways. But if you put them in the calculator, you should get the same answer either way. Okay? All right. Let me see if that's a good place to stop. Honestly, I think you can do all the other 8 through the end of the review now. The only thing is on number 13, do we want to just set up a little picture for you to make sure that you can solve it? Okay, so it says you have 2 planes that leave an airport. The angle between their paths is 40 degrees. So here's where the airport is, let's say. We have 1 plane going here, 1 plane going here. The path between them is 40 degrees. Then it says an hour later, 1 plane went 300. So that'll be this side. The other plane went 200. And then it says, how far apart are they? Well, then this would be the side that you're looking for. So if I'm going to call that little a, let's call this capital A. And then for your other 2 sides, remember, it doesn't matter how you label them as long as the letters are across from each other. So if I want to call 300 little b, then I would need this to be capital B. And if I want 200 to be my little c, that would be capital C. Now, looking at the triangle that you just made, will this be a law of sines or a law of cosines? Sines, you have to have partners. Do we have that? Which letter? The B, we have little b, but do we have big B to go with it? It's not 90 degrees. That would only be for angles of elevation and depression. Okay, so for this one, if I don't have partners, which one do I use? Law of cosines. If you don't have partners, meaning big A, big B, little b, big C, little c, then you would have to do law of cosines. Okay? So ask me if you need help. And then really all we have left to do examples from is that first page of your review, but I'll give you some time to kind of work on that. Okay, so 8 through the end of the review, you should be able to kind of do. I'm pretty sure the whole test, the sides are all tenths, which is 1 decimal, and all the angles are 50. Okay, Oliver, you ready to do some of that back page? Okay, so why don't you turn to that back page, I'll help you with it.
I left the school building at kind of clogged.
Yeah.
They're from 9 till 10.
But you know, it's only gonna get worse.
Yeah, when Thursday hits, I'm going to be dead.
Yes, go ahead, you just take the task. Yeah. Okay, Oliver, you have the notes paper, right?
Or, yeah,
Yes.
I think
So let me just do these two off the notes with you.
I have your
Right, I know, but I mean, do you understand it or no? All right, so if you're still kind of working, you can keep working if you don't think you need help, but let's go into the first half here. So let's do number 2. And I'm gonna start there because I just realized you really shouldn't have a negative on the inside. The negative should have been on the outside. So if you'll just adjust that so it says 700 with a negative in the front. Okay, first thing I want you to do is look at the first page at all your perfect squares. You have a whole list of perfect squares right here. And we want to know which of those numbers 700 can divide by. Any ideas? 100 is correct. 100 times what? 100 times 7. But then what is the square root of 100? 10. So it'd be negative 10 root 7. You're done. Okay, take a look at number. Do y'all want to do 3 or 4? 3. Okay, 75. Peek at your list. What can 75 divide by off the list? What'd you say? 75. What can it divide by off of there? Oh, good. 25. 25 times what? 25 times 3. And then what's the square root of 25? 5 root 3. But then remember that in front of that 25, you had a 10. And so now that my 5 is on the outside, it can times by the 10. 5 times 10 makes that a 50 root 3. Minus. Okay, my 4 root 27, look back at your list. I want to know what 27 can divide by off the list. 9 times 3 is correct. And then what's the square root of 9? Because it's perfect if it's on the list. 3 root 3. But then remember that in front of that, I already had a 4. And so now that this is a regular 3, because it was a perfect square root of 9, I can times these together. 4 times 3 makes that a 12 root 3. And then remember that if your square root parts match each other, you can subtract the numbers in the front. So 50 take away 12. How many root 3s would we have left? 38 root 3. Very good. Okay, so for your test, if you just put this in the calculator and get an answer, you're not going to get credit for that. Okay, you get them both to root 3s, and then you can add or subtract the front numbers. Okay, that being said, let's do one more together. Let's do number 6. Okay, this will be the last question we do all together. Okay, it says for angle theta, it is given that sine theta is negative 4 over 7, and the terminal side lies in quadrant 4. If you don't remember the order, it goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. And so if I want to stay in quadrant 4, then I'm going to kind of draw my ray out that direction. Which axis do you connect back to? X or Y? Answer is X. You're always going back to X. Even though in real life, never go back to your X, okay? But in math, you're allowed to do it. Okay, then remember, your theta has to go in the center. And they gave me the answer for sine. Sine is negative 4 over 7. So I'm going to put that right here. And if sine is -4/7, I automatically know what CSC gonna be. 7/4, because remember, they're always flips of each other. Okay, now let's go to our triangle. If I know that sine is -4/7, that's opposite over hypotenuse. So I know that my opposite side, if this is my theta, would be over here. And my hypotenuse is a 7. Okay, and then if you want to, this is up to you if you want to do this, but this is opposite. This is hypotenuse. And then this side would be the adjacent. So in order for me to find the rest of my SOHCAHTOAs, okay, I need to know this third side. We're going to do Pythagorean theorem. Yes or no, will I do 7 squared plus 4 squared? No. What does 7 have to be in the Pythagorean theorem? The C. So I'll do a squared plus 4 squared equals 7 squared. I'm going to minus the 4 squared across. 7 squared minus 4 squared gives me 33. And if a squared is 33, then I take the square root. And that missing side is going to be the square root of 33. And then remember, I already had so I just have to do ka and toa. So cosine is ka and toa. What will A over H be using the sides of my triangle? Over -7. Oh, well, actually make sure the hypotenuse can never be negative. The X and the Y can be negative, not the hypotenuse. And then when I flip that for secant, it'll be 7/√33. Now, out of those two choices, first or second, which one am I going to have to fix? Which one do I have to fix? Second one has the square root on the bottom. So this one's good to go. But this one I'm going to have to come back and fix. Okay, then for tan, it's OA. So that'd be √33 over -4. And then -4 over √33. And then remember, if you have a square root in the bottom, you have to fix it. Remember, the way that we do that is another √33 top and bottom. And then when you do a √33 times its own self, that's going to go to a regular 33 on the bottom, which would make it look like that. And then cotan, very similar. It'd be -4 √33 over 33.
Instead of the cotan, like negative.
Oh, wait, did I do it wrong? Oh,
Like switch, yeah.
dang it. You're right. These are backwards. My bad. Sorry. This is the answer to that one. That's the answer to that one.
Oh,
Thank you. My bad. B. Okay. Anything else you need help with altogether? You have about 25 minutes. Uh-huh. Which one?
For this one,
Uh-huh.
would it be 8 is here?
Yeah, because it's an X and a Y. So your -8 would be the X distance. So that would be here is -8. And then -6 would be.
Cool.
And then remember, your theta is always going to be that central angle.